week I talked about two of the four resources that God has for us for turning our sadness into actual joy. And the first two I talked about was prayer and letting go of the past. Those are pretty two important things too. We've got to ask God to help us point the direction to the gladness when we're in a, what do they call it, bad funk? The major bummer, however you want to put it, whatever term you want to use. Let's gotta let go of the past, because a lot of times we can let our past kind of drag us down. Quite often we can let our past drag us down too much. Let's see if I can do this without messing up on here. Alright. I got me a new little toy here, so I'm still trying to figure it out. If we had a cat, I'd use the laser pointer on it. But we're going to go part two on this sadness segment. And that's going to be quite interesting. We went to the letting go of the past and also the prayer. We're going to have a third resource we're going to be dealing with in Nehemiah chapter 2. There we go. Resource. I don't know if this is the one I picked out, or is this?
No.
Did you review this one or something?
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, it's in there. That's there it goes. Something looked strange. Our third resource will change our sadness into singing and joy. Trust in the providence of God. And providence refers to God's intervention. God's going to stage an intervention. When He has that thing, go big or go home, He's going to go all out for us. In a situation, He's going to intervene. He's going to get in the middle of it, kind of guide us through that situation. And Nehemiah believed that God was providentially at work in the situation of rebuilding Jerusalem. Here's how God provided. Here's the providence of God in Nehemiah's situation. Nehemiah was a cupbearer for the king, and made sure the king's drinks were poisoned. The king was the only person who could help Nehemiah with the rebuilding project. Nehemiah needed the king's support. And the king, of course, noticed that Nehemiah's sadness. And, well, as stated earlier last week, part of the cupbearer's thing is to keep the king happy. Well, if you're sad, I don't think anybody's going to be very happy, are they? I've heard people say, "Yeah, Mom ain't happy, nobody's happy." They can also, anybody's not happy, it's just going to affect everybody else. Because it can take one person to be upset to really ruin it. It can cause a lot of problems. It can cause a division in the church. That'll work that way. The church that I grew up in, when I grew up in went in high school, I didn't accept Christ till later in life, until about 16, 17 years old. But the king knows, he asked for an explanation. The king asked for an explanation from Nehemiah for his sadness. And you know what? If you look at verse 2, let's see. Verse 2, it says, so the king asked, why does your face look so sad when you're not ill? This can be nothing but of the sadness of heart. Nehemiah wanted to rebuild Jerusalem, and he needed the king's support. Nehemiah, of course, asked the king for permission to return and rebuild Jerusalem. Now, let's remind you about one thing here, though. And this is the king who originally stopped a prior construction effort. Nehemiah was given permission. That's what's called providence. Providence of God. God intervened, put it on the king's heart to let Nehemiah rebuild. Nehemiah asked for letters authorizing his trip. These letters would give him authority with local leaders to perform the tasks they need. Nehemiah was given the authority. Once again, what is that? Providence, right? If we look at verse 8, come on, let's bring up all my pages around here. Chapter 2, verse 8. That was really 2, verse 8. May I have a letter to Asaph, or how to pronounce it, keeper of the king's forest, so that he'll give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel, by the temple, for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy. And because the gracious hand of my God was upon me, the king granted my requests. The king granted the request according to the good hand of God. After Nehemiah had completed his preparatory work, testified of God's goodness to God's people. In verse 18, he said, I told them of the hand of my God, which has been good upon me. Now, that's God's providence. Most of us come to love, appreciate a verse that assures of God's providence or intervention in our lives. We know that God causes all things to work together for good for those who love God, right? And they're called according to His purpose. You know, here's a good example right here of trusting God's providence found in the Bible. The Old Testament character of Joseph. You all know about him. Got taken, brothers thrown into slavery. You know, he trusted God's unfailing providence. He was betrayed by his brothers. He was sold into slavery. Now, come on, for the average man, the average person, that's going to run you into the ground. No, be thrown in prison for a crime he didn't commit. You know, I don't know about you, but it'd be really, really hard to be really, truly faithful to something like that, wouldn't it? I mean, to be honest with ourselves, it would be. What Joseph had to say? God sent me before you to preserve life. That's in Genesis 45:5. No matter how dark the night, no matter how deep the pit, Joseph trusted in the providence of God. He trusted God was going to intervene. I know that God's intervened in my life and kind of bailed us out of situations. We were wanting to go on a trip. I like to tell this story because I like how quickly God answered prayer.
Oh, yeah.
We had a car that was, I'd say the car was really good for our prayer life. We said, Lord, let this thing start. Don't let it break down. So we're really praying. And we were wanting to go to Arkansas to visit some relatives out there. This is when our daughter was real little, so didn't have to worry about, waiting for summertime when it's not awfully hot down there. That car broke down right before we were supposed to go on vacation. I mean, cracked a head or something like with a head gasket, which was going to take our vacation when we fix it. We prayed about it right before dinner. I mean, no sooner we said amen and picked up our porch, the telephone rang. It was my dad. He said, hey, you guys I know probably need to get your car fixed. One, he helped us with a down payment on we consider a new car. It was a good used car. For an economical drive out there, Arkansas. That's God intervening right there in our life. Because it was shortly after that one, I think your grandma died or something like that.
I don't know what years she died.
But anyways, we had a good trip out there. Nice reliable vehicle. We're going to go to the last resource that's going to change sadness thing is to focus on God's purpose in your life. He's got a purpose for us all. Sometimes you think of Lord, like Rick Ward's book, what on earth am I here for? You think you just stand there taking space up and using oxygen, but hey, God's got a purpose for all of us. Every one of us in here. We can all minister in some way to somebody else. Mothers minister to their children all the time. Try to teach them right from wrong. Sometimes that's a never-ending battle. We know that one all too well. Yes. My wife's still trying to teach me right from wrong. That's at least do it her way. I say first you don't succeed, do it the way your wife told you. So, when we look at Nehemiah, like I said, was a cupbearer for the king. Yeah, but Nehemiah was the cupbearer. God's intended Nehemiah to be more than just a cupbearer, though. Serving as a cupbearer was the first step in what God had planned for him. This would that gave him an in with the king because he was a very trusted servant. The cupbearer was a very trusted servant. Nehemiah understood his task. However, there's a larger purpose, and in verse 12, so I set out during the night with a few men. I had not told anyone what my God put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except for the one I was riding on. So now we're talking about building, not using horsepower, but put up a big wall. in verse 17, getting down near the end of it, this book, it says, I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. Now his purpose lead God, Nehemiah's purpose is to lead God's people into rebuilding their city. You know, God intended the Israelites to be more than just captives. He was their special people. The Israelites were God's special people. He had a purpose for them. He has a purpose for each one of us. Sometimes I'm still trying to figure out what my purpose is, other than pastoring. But we do a lot of outreaches. You know, there's two things that's going to help understand God's purpose for your life. First, I'm not going to put them on the sun. I don't have them on the screen. The first part of God's purpose is to know God. You need to know God's purpose. First, you got to know God to know His purpose. Be like knowing a doctor's treatment and not knowing the doctor. That'd be kind of ridiculous, wouldn't it? Go to doctor treatment, not know nothing about the doctor. For all I know, they'd go into the veterinary clinic down here and trying to get surgery for my shoulder or something. That'd be kind of a ridiculous thing, wouldn't it? I'd probably be barking and chasing cars afterwards, but who knows after that? When you look at verse 4 and 5 of chapter 1, you discover that Nehemiah had a personal and intimate relationship with God. The first part of anyone's purpose is to know God. Life's purpose begins with God. When you turn to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, it explains that in the beginning of all things began with God. Do not get hung up on things of knowing God's specific purpose for your life without knowing it. You got to begin to desire to know God. Second part is to honor God. Now the purpose, statement for churches is, for a lot of churches, be a faith-based church and to glorify God. We're created to glorify Him. That's a newsflash, isn't it? We're created to glorify God. It's like people are like, duh. That's what people living like that. If your focus is on your relationship with God, you commit your life to honoring God, you're going to discover a specific purpose. God, relationship and dedication precede specific plans. Got to accept Christ or rededicate. Get right with God. He's going to start our plan. He's going to start that plan with you. He's going to lift your sadness. God desires all of us to go from bummer state to a happy state. You know, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to remove your circumstances, but it's sure going to guide you through it. As we go to the dedication today, or go to the invitation, I'll get as we get some. Get our son there. You know, the ability to sing involves actually singing in the midst of your circumstance, being joyful in the midst of them. Now that sounds crazy, doesn't it? You know, how to be happy in the middle of a bad circumstances? Well, knowing that God's in control of it, that's the big thing. Yeah, the mess that Robert's got going on right now.
Yeah.
I've been through it when my dad died. All the stuff that gone after that. And after that, my sister passed away. We had to make a decision to take her out life support or not. But yeah, God gives us, you know, He's not going to remove the circumstance, but He sure gives us a way to deal with them. And then we're going to go to our invitation. We're going to ask anybody wants to rededicate, and they want to join this church, follow in baptism, whatever the thing, whatever your desire is, whatever you feel led to, come forward.